Vault of Horror is a horror anthology film produced by Amigas Productions in the year 1973 as a follow-up sequel to the 1972 film Tales from the Crypt. The film again repeats the same format as its predecessor and contains 5 separate segments, each one having their basis in the stories from EC Comics' Tales from the Crypt and Shock suspense stories. In an odd twist of fate, none of the segments are actually from any of the Vault of Horror comics themselves, and they even forget to include an appearance from the Vault Keeper himself in the film.
But there's no excuse to forget!
Instead, the framing sequence features 5 strangers who all take the elevator, automatically heading downstairs to the sub-basement of the building. Although nobody among the group has actually selected the basement as their destination, when the door opens up, the group comes across what appears to be some sort of swanky gentleman's club down on the last floor. Now trapped because the elevator seals them inside, they decide they might as well enjoy the comforts of such a room while they wait on their release. Once all seated together with drinks in hand, the group soon begins to discuss their reoccurring nightmares with each other.
He left you everything. For as long as you live.
A piece that originated in the comic pages of 1953's Tales from the Crypt, issue number 35, Midnight Mess, starts off with the sororicidal Harold, who, with his sister, Donna Murdered, will lay claim to her inheritance. A cool enough cucumber that he can catch a quick meal at the restaurant called Restaurant, gotta love it. After the dirty deed is done, he becomes aware that all is not as it seems when vampires become involved.
Much better than the frozen stuff.
The next sequence, The Neat Job, originated in the very first issue of 1952's Shock suspense stories. In this piece, Gritchett, an obsessive-compulsive personality, ends up marrying the younger daughter of a family friend named Eleanor. Unfortunately, much to Eleanor's dismay, the neatness required while living with her new husband in domesticity drives him to consistently badger her on the order of things in his household.
What's this?
They're mine.
Yours? What are they doing in my drawer?
I moved your things to your side of the bed.
But my underpants have always been in the second drawer on the left, folded double with the buttons on the top. How can one live in chaos?
My beloved Lady Chaos.
This forces her into a state of playing a maddening game of keep-up to attend to his every obsessive-compulsive need. She tries her very best to please him by replicating his organizational schema, but eventually it all goes spinning out of her control. While trying to clean up one mess before he returns home from work, this ends up creating a domino effect, triggering mess after mess, snowballing further and further into chaos. When he finally returns home and begins to chastise her, she has had a mental breakdown, and you're right there along for the ride.
You've messed up my whole house. Can't you do anything neatly? Can't you? Can't you do anything neatly? Can't you do anything neatly? Can't you? Can't you do anything neatly? Can't you do anything neatly?
The following segment, entitled This Trick'll Kill You, was derived from the comic book pages of 1953's Tales from the Crypt, issue number 33. In this tale, we are introduced to the magician Sebastian, along with his wife, who are scouring India in order to discover and pillage new magic tricks.
No gods, no supernatural powers, no yoga. Just tricks. Huh? As a fellow magician, I can assure you of that.
Just when they have given up hope that they will come across anything new and exciting, Sebastian sees a girl who uses a flute to snake charm a lifeless rope from a basket. She then climbs up and down the levitating rope. Since they cannot fathom how she performs such an act, they're obviously interested in learning how it is accomplished.
How much? How much do you want for the trick?
It is not for sale. Not at any price.
When she refuses to reveal her secrets for money, they invite the girl back to their hotel room to perform the magic act. Out of desperation, the two resort to murdering the girl simply to possess the tools of her magic trick. However, the pair of murderous magicians get what's coming to them when the enchanted rope returns the favor by getting rid of both the wife and hanging her husband Sebastian.
Well, that's why they call me the hanging judge.
After that, we come to the piece Bargain in Death, originating from 1952's Tales from the Crypt, issue number 28.
Buried alive.
Bargain in Death tells the tale of a scheme of insurance fraud where two friends, Alex and Maitland, arrange between them to have the one under the coverage buried alive. The idea is to slow down his body metabolism and make it look as if Maitland had a heart attack.
You know, it would have made a really great story. I'd have been lucky to get £50 for it. No money in horror.
Even though Maitland plans to kill Alex once the insurance money has been collected, Alex jumps the gun, double-crosses him by leaving him to suffocate in an underground coffin.
Hurry, Alex!
Then, when two Benecle students bribe a gravedigger to get a corpse to use in their studies, they discover that Maitland isn't the stiff they paid for as he jumps up screaming. The students, of course, flee in terror out into the middle of the road, which results in Alex's car on the way out of town swerving out of control and exploding in a fiery car crash. When the two students regain their composure and return to the gravesite, the gravedigger is still there waiting for them to pick up Maitland.
Sorry about the head.
The final tale, drawn and quartered, comes from the comic book story from 1951's Tales from the Crypt, issue number 26. In this last segment, we find Moore, a starving artist living on coconuts in Haiti. Moore learns from Bob Dixon that since the art critic Fenton Brealey has given his paintings favorable reviews, his works have been selling for high sums, but that he hasn't been seeing any of the profits.
What do you wish?
To buy voodoo.
Moore then contracts a voodoo priest who applies the power of the voodoo doll to the destitute artist's portraits. When the bread Moore makes a portrait of is eaten by a rodent after he erases the corner of the bread on the same portrait, he returns to London looking for vengeance against those who have cheated him out of the money his paintings have earned.
You cheated me, all three of you. And I'm going to have revenge.
Moore systematically uses his artistic talent to blind the art critic Fenton Brealey, decapitating the hands of art dealer Arthur Gaskell, and finally making the head of the snake, Mr. Dilton, shoot himself in the head. But the tenet of treating others how you wish to be treated eventually comes back to haunt him as Moore's own self-portrait is exposed to turpentine, distorting his portrait into a jumbled, misshapen mess, resulting in a truck running over his head in the real world.
I don't care what universe you're from, that's gotta hurt.
Once all the dreamers have finished exploring their nightmares, the elevator door finally opens, leading all five into a graveyard where they disappear one at a time.
That's how it is. And how it always will be.
Also worth mentioning is the matter of the edited and unedited versions of this film floating around. The many differences lie in what you would call the money shots, mostly at the climax of several of the pieces. In Midnight Mass, you can actually see the vampires extracting blood from an upside-down herald rather than a freeze frame of the same shot. In The Neat Job, the hammer stab to the head is freeze-framed in the same way, rather than the unedited version when you can see Gritchett tip over after Eleanor has completely lost it. Also, in the jars that Eleanor makes up that collect her dead husband's body parts, the edited version cuts off at the jar with the teeth, while the unedited version goes on to reveal she also jarred up his bits and pieces, as they might say, labeled here as odds and ends. Lastly, and drawn and quartered, when art dealer Arthur Gaskell's hands are decapitated, you can actually see his bloody stumps in the unedited version, while the edited version covers up the stumps with a quick extra cut to his face. While the Vault of Horror adapts all its pieces straight out of the comics, and I totally appreciate the faithfulness to the source material, edited or not, I just don't think the sequel is as good a movie as the original is. The whole framing sequence, while similar to its predecessor, felt extremely weak without one of the ghoul lunatics hosting the powwow. And I liked that there was at least one female character in the original movie's group of 5, while in this movie there wasn't even one. The Neat Job, I think, has the best pacing and acting out of the bunch, and could have been squeezed into the first film without blinking. However, the other pieces are a little less interesting, and they don't hold up as well for me.
A preposterous story.
My beloved Lady Chaos.